Hello and welcome into another edition of the Our Coaching Network podcast. I am John Brice of FootballScoop.com. Pleased to be joined today by Western Michigan University head coach Lance Taylor. Coach, you got the squad rolling. We appreciate you taking some time out to visit with us.
Don, it's great to see you as always. Appreciate you having me on. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive right in. You guys are undefeated in conference play. You got a big homecoming game coming up. Year one, you guys started to establish a foundation. Where's the biggest growth for your program from year one to year two?
Yeah, for us, our biggest growth has been this year's team. In year one, when you take over a program, you're really just trying to set the culture, set the standard and identity of your program, and help everybody in the organization, not only players, but coaches, support staff, everybody understand what the standard is. And I was really proud of, our team, our organization in year one. Didn't win enough games in year one, but you're really building it. Progress is a process, and it takes some patience there. But really building the habits that it takes to be successful and win. And I think the biggest area of growth that I've seen in this team this year is we are finding ways to win games right now. And I think, I heard Coach Saban talk about this a bunch, when I was, fortunate enough to be a GA on his staff, several coaches that I've been under is, there's a process as you grow a team and an organization, before you can learn how to win, you have to learn how to not beat yourselves. And, I think last year, we had opportunities to win games, and some of the self-inflicted wounds showed up a ton, and we really cost ourselves opportunities to win games, but we didn't know how to win yet, and still establishing the culture. And one of the things I'm probably most proudest of is from year one to year two, we returned 17 starters after year one. And so to return that many guys who started for us and played well last year, I really think shows their buy-in, their belief in what we were doing, the culture that we built, and also the relationships that we built, especially in this age of transfer portal and NIL and guys, wanting to, go, gain other opportunities. They decided to stay because they believed in what we were doing, and they thought we could be really special this year. So I thought that was, I was really proud of that. I appreciate the guys and believe in what we're doing. And I think that they've taken ownership, and the best teams that I've been a part of, it's been the player-led ownership and accountability. It's player-led teams. And when that, standard is really set in the locker room, that's what they're doing right now. They're taking ownership of that. And we're finding ways to win games. Since we've started our MAC schedule, we faced different adversity. We've been on the road. We've been at home. We've had several things we've had to overcome, and really the grit and toughness to overcome those has been exciting for me.
Yeah, we're going to dive into your journey in a couple of minutes. It's a fascinating trek through college football all the way from your playing days to now. But I want to follow up on something you just said. And again, this is our Coaching Network podcast. I'm John Brice of Football Scoop. Really excited to be joined today by Lance Taylor, head coach at Western Michigan. You talked about the culture. I got to witness that firsthand last spring when I came up and embedded with you guys for a story for Football Scoop. Your servant leadership is not lip service. It's real. You guys post breakfast, you're cooking breakfast, you're serving your players, you're making those famous cinnamon rolls that I still am waiting to try. So just let that be out there. But Lance, how important is it when you talk about establishing a culture? It has to be authentic, and I think you've said before it has to be servant based. Can you speak to that philosophy and how you've implemented it in your program?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, leaders by title doesn't entitle you to anything. You have to really set the example every single day in how you lead, and having that servant leadership. And I've had great examples in my life, from growing up, my father, who played at the University of Alabama, how he led the company that he started from scratch, and really, a construction company that and also being a leader in our home, but also as a player, the different coaches that I was able to be under at the University of Alabama, and then in my coaching career. And so it's been exemplified to me what it's supposed to look like. And the biggest and best piece of advice that I was given before I was, as I became a head coach, was you have to be yourself. You have to be authentic. You have to be real. You can't be, somebody else. You can't be Coach Saban. You can't be, Jerry Moore. You can't be, Brian Kelly. You have to be Lance Taylor, and they have to feel that and know that. And as a player, that was one of the things that I always appreciated most was the coaches who were honest with me, and you felt like they were real. And Dabo Sweeney is one of the best examples of that. He was the receiver coach when I was, a freshman and sophomore at University of Alabama, and his servant leadership, how he leads, and his authenticity, and really his, he has helped me grow into, a great young man, a great father, but also a great coach, and continue to be a mentor in my life. So I appreciate what he's done in my life. He did an excellent job there. But you have to be real and you have to be yourself, because players see right through that. When you're fake and you're trying to be somebody else, they see right through it.
Okay, we talk about being real and being yourself. One of the things that I try to ask as many coaches as possible on the Our Coaching Network podcast is a little bit off the beaten path, and that is, what's a job or a task that you had maybe early in your career? I know you GA'd at your alma mater, and then you went to App State, and you've had a fascinating journey. You also played pro ball in the Arena League, but maybe what's a job you had after your playing days that you think back on and you reflect now, not that you're done growing, but you're a head coach at an FBS program.
Well, I would say two things that have had a huge impact on who I am and really set my mindset mentality. One goes back to my playing days. I was a walk-on at the University of Alabama. I came in, and as a walk-on, having to earn everything, really having to fight and kick and scratch and claw, pay your own way, pay your own tuition, be there, and at times feeling like, you're not involved or part of it, but, really going through that process to earn everything, to outwork every single person every single day, to be the first guy in the building and the last one to leave, really has set who I am, and I appreciate that. I try to keep that chip and that walk-on mentality in everything that I do, even as a coach, as a leader, as a person, as a human, as a husband, as a father. That's really who I try to be. And I was one of those guys. I wasn't, the biggest, the tallest, the fastest, the super gifted or talented. So I had to work for everything that I've earned, and really that set my mentality. And then, early in coaching, one of the best things that happened to me was being under great leaders and part of great teams and organizations to really, see what it looks like firsthand. And it exemplified it in person to me. But doing some of those small, dirty jobs, as a GA, you have to do a little bit of everything, the grunt work. I mean, go pick up dry cleaning, go pick up coffee, and then, even as a quality control coach in the NFL, really learning the different aspects it takes, in the organization. And I think that gives me a little bit of perspective as a head coach of what everybody's trying to do, because, there's so many guys. I mean, we've got 150 people in our organization here. We've got 113 players, we've got almost 50, coaches, support staff, GAs, intern. I mean, so there are a lot of people who really are pouring their heart into what we do every single day and what we're building. And because I've been some of those low guys on the totem pole, I appreciate what they do. And I try to never let that go lost, and really, as much as I can, make sure that they understand how much I appreciate what they do for us.
You've spoken on your journey, and it is fascinating. You've coached in the NFL with both the Jets and the Panthers. You got your start at Bama. You've been at App State, obviously Notre Dame, Louisville. But I want to focus briefly on that Stanford time. I believe you coached Christian McCaffrey all 3 years of his collegiate career. I know you coached him for multiple seasons. Do you have a favorite Christian McCaffrey story? Because I would suck as your host if I didn't ask for it.
Yeah, I tell you what, I have been blessed, lucky, fortunate, just in my coaching career, one to be, part of some great teams, some great organization, and around some great players as well as coaches. I left the Carolina Panthers and took the running backs job at Stanford. Coach Dave Shaw has been a great mentor for me. And, he was committed to Stanford as I took the job. And so I didn't recruit Stanford, or I didn't recruit Christian, but during the recruiting process. But one of the things, as I got there, they had just had the signing class, and immediately, it's about building relationships. I've always been about that, no matter what position I've held or what title. It's about having a relationship with the players, making sure that they know that you care, care for them. You want to help them, reach their goals and everything that they do, and help add value to their life. But Christian taught me so much. He is really, throughout all my years, and I've been under some great players and been, fortunate enough to coach some really good ones, that are still playing today in the NFL. He has been the best example of a guy who greatest work ethic that I've had. And before he ever got to campus, as we started to build a relationship, he wanted to learn the playbook. He wanted to know the place. He's texting me every single night before he gets to campus. At that point, he was not an early enrollee, so he was going to get there in training camp. And his mindset was he wanted to hit the ground running when he got there. And, just his work ethic, his mindset, I think when your best players are also the best workers and best leaders that you have, you've got something really special. And, that has really made an impression on me and how I try to recruit. I mean, it's really those intangibles that you look for. And Christian was super talented, right? I mean, talented family, great background. He knew what it was, his dad exemplified what it was supposed to look like, played the NFL for a really long time. And so he had all the things that, from a measurable standpoint that you look for. It was the intangibles that made him great. And that's really made an impression on me, especially as a head coach and the young men that we bring into our locker room. It's the intangibles that mean more than anything, because you can measure a lot of things, but you can't measure a man's heart or a man's will.
Love that. And you were also at Stanford at the same time as my former neighbor was playing on the defensive line for you, Dylan Jackson from East Tennessee. So I got to work in a Dylan Jackson shout out here. You talk about leadership. Your leadership is exemplary, and you had a tough go in your first year because you were facing a rebuilding project, and then after the season, you lost both your offensive and defensive coordinators as well as your general manager. But here you guys are undefeated in league play. You've already won 2 games away from home. You have homecoming coming up this weekend. What's been the key? How have you sort of willed this program forward? And what do you like about your new offensive and defensive coordinators?
Yeah, well, I kind of just mentioned it, John, but it's my job and duty as the head coach to set the mission and vision, and set the example every single day. But it's really the people that you hire around you. And I've been so blessed to hire great people. In year one, we hired a great staff. And the players in the locker room were hungry. They were humble. They wanted to be coached. They wanted to do better. They wanted to raise the standard. And they were really hungry to really be champions. And to me, you have to be champions, in everything that you do and the habits that you build long before the results show up. And, it's really about the process of the growth and growing every single day. And so there's been great growth from year one to year two. And what I would say is right now we're not focused on, our record right now, or people patting us on the back, winning the last 3 games, or being undefeated in the MAC. As Coach Saban would say, that's rat poison. And I think that's a trap, because you let your ego start to believe the things that people say about you. And we got to go 1-0 each week. We haven't done anything yet. It's great to be where we are right now in October, but we've got bigger goals, bigger aspirations, bigger dreams, but we have to focus on the now. And so right now, what's most important is this week going 1-0. We've got homecoming. We've got Kent State coming here. Coach Kenny Burns has done an excellent job there. I've got a ton of respect for what he's done, who he is as a person and as a leader. And they've got really good players on each side of the ball. And we have to show up and play our best. And, that's the beautiful thing about the MAC, John. I mean, this, you follow this league. I mean, it is a week to week league. And so if you think, hey, we're really good, believe the pats on your back, that's when you get embarrassed, or you forget where you came from or what got you there.
Yeah, Kent State especially has some nice skill players on both sides of the ball. So compelling matchup. You're leading me right into my next question, and I have been up to Kalamazoo. I've visited with you guys. The community support, you see it as soon as you start driving into town. There's WMU signs up. There's the horses logo all over town. But as homecoming approaches, Lance, what is it like there in the community, and how key is it that you do have that community support? It can be a great atmosphere.
Well, I think one of the things that excited me most as I started interviewing for this job and this opportunity, started to unfold, was really just the support and resources here at Western Michigan. I've always had aspirations and goals to be a head coach, but I also, wanted to make sure it was the right opportunity, because, you may get one shot to be a head coach, and you got to take the right job at the right place at the right time with the resources that match the goals and aspirations. And I think when you look at Western Michigan, it's a great community. It's a great university that has a great history and tradition football program. You look what Coach PJ Fleck did here, in the 2016 season, going undefeated, being MAC champions, playing in the Cotton Bowl. They had some great players. We've had a great history of recruiting great players, and also, a great history of guys, going on to the next level and being able to play in the NFL. So you can recruit great players here. The university, our athletic director, Dan Bartholomew, and our president, committed the resources to be successful. And the community support here is really special. And I talk about this all the time. I think one of the things that makes a place special are the people. And with Kalamazoo and Western Michigan in particular, it's the people here that are really special. They open, from day one, they have embraced us. Even last year, when we didn't win enough games, they have supported us through thick and thin, and they just want a winner, and they want to win. But they're going to support you through the good times and the bad times. I think we have the best game day home atmosphere in the MAC. I'm obviously partial to that, but just, as I've traveled different places in the MAC playing on the road, I'm reminded each week when we come home how great our support here is and how blessed and fortunate we are to have that type of support, especially at this level. Our home atmospheres have been great, and, homecoming is going to be a great, crowd. We're going to introduce a couple of former Broncos in the Hall of Fame this weekend, Steve Neal, and Tony Scheffler, a couple of great players for us. But the support and resources here are unmatched, and I think it gives us a competitive advantage.
That's awesome. He is Coach Lance Taylor, head coach at Western Michigan. I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com here on the Our Coaching Network podcast. And side note, Lance Taylor, a former Football Scoop running backs coach of the year. Shout out there. Congratulations. A little bit late after the fact. All right. About to wrap it up here. And I love your comments on Kalamazoo. I live in the Midwest now. As I mentioned, I've been up there. It's an awesome town. But I wanted to ask you, you were early. General managers are everywhere in college football now, but you prioritized it early on, soon after getting your job. First of all, why was Gazika the right person at the time for that? And how important and how seminal is that position now in college football?
Yeah, well, to me, as I prioritized staff as I first got hired, to me, there were two critical positions. One, our strength coach, our head strength coach, Coach G2, Grant Guy, does a phenomenal job, and really you set the culture and the foundation and the accountability there. And in the offseason, they spend more time with them than anybody. The other next most important role was our general manager. And especially in today's college football with roster management, with NIL, with portal, with transfer, like all the things that go on, you need somebody, because recruiting is the lifeblood of your program. Listen, I was FootballScoop coach of the year because I had a great player, not because I was a great coach. I mean, let's be honest. And so great players, allow you to look like a really good coach. And I've been fortunate enough to coach a lot of great ones. And so you had to have great players to win games. And that was, it's the lifeblood of your program. And Geiska was a guy, he came highly recommended. I didn't know him before, but he came highly recommended from several places. And, people that I really trust and lean on and that know the profession. And when I first interviewed him, I saw how detailed he was. He had a plan. He had a vision. Our visions aligned. And also he's a great person and a great family man. And I knew that we'd be aligned there. He did a great job in his time here. He's now at Arizona, and great opportunity for him and his program. And one of the things that I always want to do as a coach is not only help our players reach their goals and dreams, but also the coaches and assistants and support staff reach their goals and dreams. And so, I'm fortunate for the time that we've had, but I always want to help guys get other opportunities to, grow their role, increase their value, and help them and their family. He's done a great job. We had the second, best recruiting class in the MAC last year. We've had the best recruiting class, since 2016 here in Western Michigan history. We've done a great job, not only recruiting high school players, but also in the portal. And I think that's starting to show up on the field as well.
Your humility prevents you from accepting credit, but Gazka, you hired Gazka. He's now at Arizona. You had Billy Kosh. He's now a head coach at the FCS level, and you had Espo, and now he's helping run the defense at Michigan. The common trait there is you along the lines there. So take a little bit of credit. But Lance, I know that you still got 5 games left in the regular season, and who knows, hopefully some postseason after that. Thanks so much for visiting with us today on the Our Coaching Network podcast. Good luck the rest of the way.
John, I appreciate you. I appreciate your support and having me on. Go Broncos. And I've still got my Morgan Wallen soundtrack on. Got the new single, Love Somebody. So I know we're fans there.
Yeah, my wife was, we had a trip to East Tennessee over the weekend to see some family, and she was playing a little more Morgan Wallen and a little less Dave Matthews. But, small wins for me, big wins for her. But happy for you, Lance. Keep it rolling. He is Lance Taylor, Western Michigan head coach. I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com, and this has been the latest edition of the Our Coaching Network podcast.